countrywide voter registration exercise entered its second week today as the IEBC reported that it failed to meet its voter registration target for week one by registering 2.7 million Kenyans, 1 million short of their target. And an organization that's older than independent Kenya has marked its birthday.
Well, that is today. Maendeleo ya Wanawake turns 60 and there are many achievements to celebrate, but also many challenges lie ahead, including ensuring increased participation of women in elective politics.
21 million pieces of coins have been released to the market today in the space of just about 2 months. And the CBK is now urging citizens to chomoa those coins that are in your penny banks. These are among the events that have shaped your world today. Good evening and welcome. I'm Eric Latte.
And I'm Joy Doreen Birath. This is KTN Prime. A look at our highlights.
Where are the voters? IEBC misses next week one target.
The price of insecurity, why chiefs are taking the flag.
Escaping the Hague, government fast-tracks local judicial process.
Now is the time to actually go around the country, make sure people generally accept that women have these rights.
60 years and counting, the new challenges for women's body.
We are glad you could join us. Now we begin with an update on the voter registration exercise, and tonight the IEBC is beginning to worry that it may not meet its target of 18 million voters if current trends continue. A new report focusing on the first 5 days of registration shows that the Commission missed its target by 1 million voters. Many registration centers countrywide remain deserted, and as Asha Mwilu now reports, the Commission is predicting a mad rush in the final week.
In 5 days, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission had projected to register 3.7 million voters countrywide when the 30-day process kicked off last Monday. A status report released by the Commission, however, shows that the 25,000 registration centers had collectively registered just 2.8 million voters by Saturday, a significant shortfall of 1 million voters. The second week of voter registration kicked off across the country, and while the IEBC reported teething problems in the first 7 days, most registration centers across the country reported that the process was actually picking pace. However, while most registration centers have surpassed their target of 1 BVR kit registering 50 voters per day, a number of other centers are lagging behind. Within the first week of registration, Thika has recorded the highest numbers, having registered nearly 295,000 voters by Saturday. Nairobi, Kakamega, Central Rift and Nyanza Central are also among the top 5 regions so far. The spotlight is, however, on the regions recording the lowest turnouts and perhaps proving to be IEBC's main areas of concern. For instance, Wajir and Mandera combined registered a mere 23,000 voters by Saturday. Upper Eastern registered just over 24,000 voters in the 5 days, while Garissa recorded 32,300 registrations. North Coast is also seen to be falling behind the targets. Could these numbers be a reflection of the premeditated concerns about the security lapses in these areas?
In fact, in Garissa, our officers were able to open the stations, the registration centers, at 8 a.m. And in Mombasa also, our people on the ground are holding consultations with local leaders and provincial administration.
The IEBC now has only 22 days to recover in these areas, with focus shifting to security agents who have the hard task of reassuring voters that all will be well. IEBC says that the process could be moving at a slow pace because most voters are waiting for the opportune time to travel to their preferred centers to register.
Where you register is where you are going to cast your vote, and there will be no movement from one place to another to vote.
For now, the clock is ticking, and the procrastination could see the registration centers marred by long queues in the last week as Kenyans rush to beat the December 18th deadline. Asha Mwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
So the last day of voter registration is December the 18th, and that is a big question tonight. Do you think the IEBC will achieve its target of registering 18 million voters? Do you think the IEBC will achieve its target of registering 18 million voters? SMSs your yes or no response to the brief comment to the number 8040. We'll love to receive your SMSs. We'll be sampling your comments as we go along this bulletin. And of course, we'll give you the poll result at the very end of what you think.
And now to a subject that is as much an election issue as perhaps the voter registration itself, and that is the ICC. The judiciary is now set to create a special division of the High Court that could someday replace the ICC process in Kenya. The division will deal with international crimes committed during the 2008 post-election violence. Chief Justice William Mutunga says the new division will not be used to stop the current cases at The Hague, but as Notieno reports, that move could generate a whole new debate on the campaign trail.
With only months left before the first Kenyans to be tried in an international court take the stand, the judiciary is making the crucial move, that of setting up a local process to try such cases in the future. The judiciary is due to roll out a special division of the High Court to deal with crimes similar to those which took the 4 Kenyans to The Hague.
We are at an advanced stage to set an international crimes division of the High Court.
Legally, this is an easier option for Kenya after the explosive local tribunal debate tore the cabinet and parliament right down the middle. However, the Chief Justice says that Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta, Eldoret North MP William Ruto, former Cabinet Secretary Francis Mudaura, and radio presenter Joshua Sang will still have to go to The Hague for the ICC trials.
The ICDC, as my colleague in the Judicial Service Commission, my colleagues in the Judicial Service Commission, the AG, and the Reverend Dr. Sami Kobia will confirm, has nothing to do with Kenyan cases pending before the ICC.
The confirmation of charges for the 4 Kenyans accused at the ICC was based largely on the fact that there were no ongoing Kenyan trials for international crimes committed in Kenya after the 2007 election. This new division is expected to open up a whole new debate about whether the ICC cases should be referred back to Kenya.
There has been a lot of public demand following post-election violence and given lack of a special tribunal. We have proposed a structure of ICD which is modeled on standards of ICC, same standards of the ICC, with the same rules, with the same practice, and with the same procedures.
Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta, Eldoret North MP William Ruto, as well as former head of the Civil Service Francis Mudaura and radio presenter Joshua Sang are scheduled to begin their trials in April next year at The Hague. What effect this new development will have on their push to have their cases deferred back to Kenya remains to be seen. Now, KTN, Nairobi.
So the IEBC is registering its voters. Now we have the issue of the ICC, seeing how it's going to affect the elections. But now let's hit the campaign trail, where pressure has continued to mount on Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Prime Minister Raila Odinga to strike a pre-election deal. Allies of both leaders met in Homa Bay and called on the politicians to reach a deal before the December 4th deadline. Here is KTN's Aaron Ochieng with more from the succession battle.
As the December 4th deadline for coalition making drew ever closer, Gwasi constituency in the county of Homa Bay played host to the latest gathering, seeking to push Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka into an alliance with Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Their mission here is a reciprocation of what took place in Machakos yesterday. Today's function was graced by Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and although Kalonzo was not here, his troops were testing the grounds to see whether the proposed alliance receives the same reception they got yesterday in Ukambani. It was meant to be a Thanksgiving party for the appointment of Gwasi Member of Parliament John Mbadi as Assistant Minister in the office of the Prime Minister, but it was much more than that.
Na hii tulijua hata wakifanya nini watazabaratika na mwishowe itakuwa ni vita kati ya sisi na hawa. Hiyo ndio mwenendo ya mambo. Tulikuwa Machakos jana na huyo brother yangu Rengo. Na hiyo tukaanza jana.
I'm so grateful my brothers from Ukambani are here. There were many people from all over Ukambani. Every district in Ukambani was represented yesterday. Every constituency was represented. We had more than 300 councillors with Honorable Mudama.
The Prime Minister said politics in Kenya must move away from tribal enclaves.
It is the responsibility of each and every government to protect life and property of all its citizens.
Elsewhere, Musalia Mudavadi was making inroads in President Kibaki's turf in Othaya constituency. Accompanied by members of parliament from the area allied to the UDF party, Mudavadi said his presidency would be issue-oriented.
I have no revenge mentality. Thank you. Kwa sababu tunataka tushikane kama Wakenya, tufanye kazi pamoja. Na mimi kweli nimezaliwa huko upande wa Uluya, lakini nitakuwa naota ndoto ya mchana, daydreaming, ikiwa nitasema kwamba ati Waluya ndio watanipatia nafasi niende State House. Wapi? Itawezekana namna gani?
Mudavadi also says the positive strides made under President Kibaki will be continued if Kenyans vote him into office.
Mfano ambao Mwai Kibaki ameweka, basi inatubidi tushikilie pale na sisi tuende mbele. Na mimi nawaambia mkinipatia hiyo nafasi, mimi sina uhasama na mtu yeyote, niko tayari kufanya kazi kwa kila mtu na kuwa mtumishi wa Wakenya.
Mudavadi is also in talks with other Western Kenya presidential aspirants, and he recently declared he is willing to work with Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka. Aaron Ochieng, KTN Prime.
Thanks, Aaron, for that report. Now, police in Garissa have arrested a man they say is a prime suspect in the killing of 3 Kenya Defence Forces soldiers in Garissa last Monday. The man has reportedly confessed to being part of the killings, which occurred when 5 KDF soldiers were ambushed by a terror gang in the northeastern town. The suspect, who is now being held at Hulugo area near Kenya-Somalia border, Northeastern Deputy CID Boss Eregi Ngatia said the man, who has confessed to being a commander in the ranks of the Al-Shabaab, was positively identified by witnesses and 2 soldiers who survived the attack. He is still being interrogated before he appears in court.
And as the government moves to contain mounting public anger over rising insecurity, there is concern that local chiefs and their assistants are being used as scapegoats. The provincial administrators have borne the brunt of a crackdown that many see as misdirected. KTN's crimes and investigative reporter Dennis Onsarigo takes a closer look.
From Garissa to Tana River, Nairobi to the Valley of Death, the government appears to have been weighed down by the increasing cases of insecurity that have claimed more than 200 lives in the past 10 months, and the number is still rising. The country is under attack from within and without, but one section of government appears to be taking the hit as pressure mounts on authorities to act. Chiefs and their assistants have been on the receiving end, from on-the-spot sacking to being arraigned in court to face serious charges such as murder. The Tana River clashes that have left more than 50 people dead saw the sacking of 4 chiefs who were later arraigned in court to face charges ranging from murder in the attacks that had all the signs of revenge weeks before they occurred. The man who had them fired, Coast Provincial Commissioner Samuel Kilele, chairs the provincial security team that has an elaborate network of intelligence at its disposal.
Mimi ninajua mimi binafsi kwamba kuna watu ambao wamepanga wapigane. Unajua ni kama ni ukoo unapigana.
Based on that information, a contingent of police officers was deployed to the area to avert further attacks, but how the raiders managed to outnumber security agents and stage daring attacks on a sleepy village remains a mystery. Whose call was it? Was it the chiefs or the local police command? Across in Samburu County, a councillor and 4 chiefs were arraigned before a Maralal court and charged with 12 counts of robbery and murder. This was after a bandit attack in Suguta Valley that left 42 police officers dead. The 5 were charged with robbing 12 law enforcement agents of their G3 rifles before killing them. How those investigating the killings arrived at charging them with the deaths of 12 police officers out of a possible 45 raises eyebrows. In Garissa town, where law enforcement agents turned on innocent residents and torched their business premises following the killing of 3 KDF soldiers, local chiefs have been sent packing. The area provincial commissioner blames them for failing to contain cases of insecurity in the town. The provincial administration is designed such that the provincial commissioner chairs the provincial security team, with members comprising the provincial criminal investigations officer, the provincial police officer or the PPO, members of the National Intelligence Service and intelligence officials from the armed forces. The role of the chief is limited to the local level. The district security committee largely carries the burden of keeping its eyes and ears on the ground. Observers say dragging chiefs and their assistants to court or having them fired over growing security cases may point to a failed intelligence network within government itself. Denson Sarigo, KTN Prime.
President Mwai Kibaki has appointed Muthui Kariuki to be the new government spokesman. Muthui, formerly a media and communications advisor to Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, replaces Alfred Mutua, who resigned in September this year to pursue political ambitions. The position of government spokesman was created under the Kibaki regime to transmit information from the government to the public, and Alfred Mutua was the first man to be named to the post. Mutua was, however, routinely accused of speaking only on behalf of the PNU side of the coalition, and it remains unclear whether Muthui will speak for both sides of the grand coalition, especially now that the campaign period is well underway.
Welcome back. We're glad you're still watching KTN Prime.
In more news, and here in Nairobi, Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization marked its 60th anniversary amid a sobering warning from President Kibaki.
The president says women should not expect any political seat on a silver platter come March 4th.
The president says the provision in the constitution on gender balance was only the first step in a long fight. KTN's Anso Mwendia reports.
Women from across the country converged in Nairobi Monday to mark 60 years of existence of their largest organization in the country. Today, the organization brings together women in different parts of the country, with 25,000 women's groups affiliated to it and 4 million members. 60 years and counting.
The one-third gender representation rule provides the affirmative action women need to make for the past injustices.
Chairperson Rukia Subo, however, says the organization has faced challenges, among them diminishing donor support.
I hope the Kenya government will continue with the support to the women movement, particularly in effort to promote women representation by ensuring that one-third rule is upheld.
While acknowledging the gains realized thus far, President Mwai Kibaki challenged women to be proactive in seeking leadership positions.
What is remaining is not so easy. No, it requires your hard work.
The president also assured these representatives of women's groups from across the country that their right to at least a third of positions in leadership would not be taken away. The Attorney General has sought the interpretation of the Supreme Court on the constitutional gender rule, following fears the country could plunge into a constitutional crisis should the coming general election fail to yield the gender balance.
No one questions, even for a moment, why a woman has a right, because that right is accepted in the Constitution of Kenya.
And with that, the Diamond Jubilee of the Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization concludes with a call to younger women to join the organization and to the women of Kenya to seek political positions and prepare to battle it out with the men. Anso Mwendia, KTN, Nairobi.
The world is marking 16 days of activism against gender violence amid concerns that the vice remains entrenched in society. Many women and men continue to suffer in the hands of their spouses. KTN's Angel Katusia witnessed the launch of the campaign at the Korogosho slum, where just as other informal settlements, gender violence is rife.
Siku nyingine hapo akanichapa 2008 alinichapa karibu nikufe mpaka nililazwa usi.
It's all started in 2003. Stella Iwagati, a resident of Kariobangi, was in a relationship that she hoped would lead to a marriage. But before she was officially married, she found out she was pregnant. That was the beginning of her nightmare. The man she hoped would be their child's father did not only reject the child, but frequently abused her physically and even sexually.
Ananichapa kama mwanaume anarusha teke, siku nyingine hapo anakunja skamata, ile kitu tu atapata tu mbele yake, hiyo ndio atatumia.
Just as many women, Stella claims despite medical reports indicating abuse, she could not sustain any case against his partner as police allegedly demanded witnesses to testify to her story. Days turned into weeks, months and years. Abuse became a routine. Neighbors who witnessed Stella's abuse opting to remain tight-lipped as they feared the man would turn on them.
Nilienda police post na wakunisaidia, wakakataa kunisaidia. It was painful. Wakaniambia without mwenye ataandika statement hakuna penye hiyo kesi itaenda.
With 2 children, Stella kissed her relationship goodbye and started doing casual jobs, earning a few shillings to feed her children. Though life is tough economically, she says the relief from abuse is the best thing she did for herself and for her children. Stella is one of the many gender-based violence survivors in the country's urban slums where gender violence is prominent. It is for such cases that activists for the 16 days of activism on gender violence pitched camp in Korogosho slums to create awareness on gender violence. The campaign is christened World for 16 Days, runs for 16 days from the 25th of November to fight for women's rights. Angel Katusia, KTN Prime.
And from the courts, businessman Philip Moy, who was arrested earlier today, has been released after he agreed to pay 600,000 shillings to his estranged wife, Rosanna Pluda. Justice GBM Kariuki had directed the businessman to pay the amount before a warrant of arrest issued against him could be lifted. The High Court judge also directed that the businessman pays a further 75,000 shillings for his children's school fees before the 25th of December and maintenance fees of 200,000 Kenya shillings to his ex-wife. He was further directed to foot the legal costs amounting to 300,000 Kenya shillings. The application had been filed by Pluda in July this year.
Let's come back to 2013 politics. And Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta is among top contenders in the race to State House. Uhuru's shot on the top seat is the second in his dramatic political career. He began as a political greenhorn, thrown into the deep end of Kenya's murky political waters. But with time, he has evolved into a headline politician. In our weekly segment, Succession 2013, KTN's Aaron Ochieng looks at the metamorphosis of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
His name stands out from the rest of the presidential candidates. Born in 1961, the son of Kenya's first president was given the name Uhuru, which is a Swahili word meaning freedom. He was given this name just 2 years before Kenya got freedom from the colonialists. Educated at the prestigious St. Mary's School and later Amherst College in the United States, Uhuru Kenyatta's name came to the limelight towards the end of former President Daniel Moi's presidency, when he was unsuccessfully groomed to be president after Moi's retirement. Since then, Uhuru has been a household name in the political arena, and the highest political hat that Uhuru has won is after the last general election, when he was appointed the Deputy Prime Minister, an appointment that was handed to him by President Kibaki, despite Uhuru being a member of KANU. Analysts believe that the Uhuru that was introduced to Kenyans by Moi in 2002 and the Uhuru that is running for the presidency in 2013 are two different people.
From the time he lost 2002, and I think possibly even from the time he also lost in 97 in Gatundu, I think he started seeing, we must have gone back and started seeing, where did I go wrong? What is it that I didn't do right? And in both elections that he lost because he was somebody else's candidate. He was not his own candidate, so to speak.
When Uhuru Kenyatta was growing up as a little boy, I believe the wazir around him convinced him that his father is the one who invented the presidency. So for him then, the presidency became like a toy. This kind of toy that you play around with. After all, this is my father who invented this presidency thing that is a toy for me to play around with. Uhuru is doing this as a game.
Against the expectations of many, he ditched his father's KANU and went against the odds to form the National Alliance TNA, a party that he has declared he will use to get to State House after Kibaki's departure. But this is not going to be an easy ride. First, he has to popularize the party, get other seasoned politicians to support him, and market the party throughout the country.
Uamuzi wa kuchagua ubaki na Wakenya na mikononi ya Wakenya. Wale wetu wengine wa kule nje, tafadhalini wachague viongozi wao huko. Wakitaka kufanya kazi na sisi, tuko tayari kufanya kazi na hao. Kama hawana haja na sisi, sisi pia hatuna haja na hawa.
Then there is a bigger and perhaps the real obstacle, the pending trial at the ICC against Uhuru for crimes against humanity facing him and 3 other Kenyans. Uhuru has to be declared fit to run for the post by the courts. Some have questioned the viability of having a president who will be tried for crimes against the same people he is leading.
Tusisimame hapa tuseme tunajali. Kama Ruto ndio rais, sawa sawa, ni Mkenya, tuendelee na tufanye kazi. Kama Uhuru ni rais, sawa sawa, tuungane tuendelee tufanye kazi. Tusije hapa kuambiwa kila siku, oh unajua sasa hawa wameshikana, wengine wanataka kwenda huku nini.
Maliza kesi alafu uje useme unataka kuwa rais. Haki ya Mungu nitasema hiyo. Na nitasema wazi. I will move a motion for his impeachment. Kwa sababu Kenya yetu haiwezi kusimamiwa na watu ambao ni jailbirds. Hii bwana haiwezekani.
It is perhaps his confidence to take on the likes of Raila head-on, his perceived control of the populous Kikuyu vote, and his ability to make inroads in other communities that has signified a more resonant to Uhuru Kenyatta, far from the man who was a greenhorn politically 10 years ago. There is no doubt that he is a major player in the Kibaki succession, and perhaps one of the biggest challenges to Prime Minister Raila Odinga's State House bid.
Uhuru has learned from Ruto that if you go and try to bembeleza Mzee Kibaki, hey man, give it to me, Kibaki will not do it. So instead of slaughtering that goat, Uhuru has gone and he's grabbed it from Kibaki and is running with it.
He's a politician, despite having the privileged background of being a son of a former president who has not, he has never suffered in any way, you can say, and he's also from an extremely wealthy family. But he is able, if you find him addressing hawkers, let's say in the Gikomba market, he is able to articulate truth. He can talk to them in a language that they feel actually this guy understands us.
Uhuru will be banking on William Ruto the same way he did in 2002 to secure the massive Kalenjin votes. The tides have changed now. There will be no Moi, and Musalia Mudavadi, who was his running mate then, is playing in another team. And the opponents have changed too, making the game more competitive and unpredictable for the son of Jomo to have a smooth ride to the house on the hill. Aaron Ocheng for Succession 2013.
Those of you who have read the UNDP publication, Termites at Work, will realize how the security, stability, and economy of this nation is mortally threatened by these termites. And the termites are, among others, crimes against humanity, drug trafficking, trafficking in humans and body parts, money laundering, counterfeit goods, corruption, piracy, and terrorism. The common denominator of these termites is that they hang together and they are inseparable bedfellows as they eat up the soul of our nation.
Good evening and welcome to your home of business on this 26th day of November 2012. My name is Boni Tunya. Now, the Central Bank of Kenya says an estimated 5.1 billion shillings worth of coins are with the public in the safety of their houses, their cars and offices. The bank's regulator has now embarked on an outreach to release the coins to boost circulation. KTN's Philip Keitani attended the launch of the Chomoa Coins campaign and brings us this report.
As of today, the Central Bank of Kenya has issued 1.31 billion pieces of coins into the market with a face value of 5.1 billion shillings. But it now appears all that amount has disappeared into thin air. And now Central Bank of Kenya is trying to use this campaign to convince the public to bring out the coins.
It starts with each one of us trying to go and doing this Chomoa Week campaign, looking to find coins in our houses and bringing them to the banks or the supermarkets.
In the month of October alone, CBK released 9 million pieces of coins into circulation, with a further 12 million pieces in November 2012. Yet the challenges of circulation still persist in the market. The bulk of the coins are held by household. A trend seems to be taking root in the country, as more people consider coins as valueless and cumbersome to carry around.
In my view, the challenge we face may be a cultural one. We have found that middle class to upper income consumers all too often disregard coins every day. They hoard the coins without even realizing that they do.
Perhaps they look at it as, is it becoming expensive to make trips to the bank to deposit the coins? Can we look at it in that way and ask ourselves what solutions?
The Chomoa Coins campaign is expected to sensitize the public on the importance of coins in the economy, encourage exchange of coins for notes, to encourage circulations of coins.
We believe that these coins are more than adequate for the economy. For example, whenever there are complaints, we try to see, let's increase the quantity, but also let's try to come up with methods, effective methods of circulation.
As the body charged with currency circulation in the market, CBK also says it's looking for more innovative ways of improving coin acceptance and circulations. Philip Keitani for KTN Business Today.
And now some good news to callers. The Communications Commission of Kenya has cut the rate mobile phone operators charge for interconnecting customers by 34%. The regulator lowered the mobile termination rate, or MTR, to $1.44 from $2.21 and backdated the low rates to July. These analysts will be quick to point will offer major relief to firms like U-Mobile and Airtel that have pushed lower rates. On the other hand, listed operator Safaricom has been against a drop in the MTR. According to CCK Director General Francis Wangusi, a study carried out by Kipra on the MTR shows that the new MTR did not have a negative impact on tax collections, employment of the sector, and the Nairobi Securities Exchange. With the rate backdated, operators will either have to revise their invoices or offer credit notes to the sum already settled. And now the East African Heads of State will meet in Nairobi this Friday. The meeting, popular as the East African Heads of State Summit, will among other things adopt recommendations to admit or not South Sudan to the community, as well as consider an application by Somalia to join the ranks.
The 5 head of states are expected in Nairobi later this week for a meeting that South Sudan and Somalia will be observing keenly. The two states had made requests to join the bloc, South Sudan having put in its request late last year, soon after celebrating its independence, while Somalia, emerging from a 2-decade civil strife, made its application in February this year.
That the heads of state asked the council to look at whether South Sudan do meet the criteria for admission as or to be a member of EAC.
The decisions have already been deliberated on by the Council of Ministers, which met Monday in Nairobi. On South Sudan, the heads of states will decide to admit it either as a full member, as an associate member, or be granted an observer status. Also on the President's to-do list this week will be opening of the new East African Community headquarters in Arusha, Tanzania, as well as commissioning the Arusha-Namanga Road.
We are going to open the new East African Community headquarters, which has been built with the assistance of donor communities who have come there to support us.
The heads of states will also be deliberating on the request to expand the roles and mandates of the East African Court of Justice, as well as receive the progress report of the Council of Ministers on the operationalization of the single customs territory. Joseph Bonyo, KTN Business Today.
And today seems to be like Good News Monday, as British oil explorer Tullow Oil has confirmed it struck oil in its Twiga South 1 well in Kenya, raising prospect the region holds a significant reservoir. Tullow says it had found 30 meters of net oil pay at the well, its second at the Lokichar Basin offshore Kenya. Monday's announcement was barely a confirmation of an earlier oil find, as the oil explorer was forced to prematurely announce the oil find about a fortnight ago following intense media speculation. Tullow Oil says the oil find was of a similar quantity to that earlier found at the same Ngamia well about 22 kilometers away. In a statement, Tullow Exploration Director Angus Marcus said Tullow had found about 800 meters of gross oil pay deeper on the rock, a potential new play that will need further evaluation to understand how large it was and whether it was productive. And while the commercial viability of the Lokichar find is yet to be ascertained, Monday's announcement brightens hopes that Kenya could become a major petroleum producer and exporter. Tullow says the well results to date reaffirms the basin multi-billion barrel size and support the belief in Kenya's oil potential. Tullow has a 50% operating interest in the Twiga well, with Canada's Africa Oil holding the other 50%. And finally, Uchumi Supermarkets has rolled out a 2-month campaign to boost local and regional tourism. The campaign, supported by the Kenya Tourism Board, will see its loyal customers rewarded with holiday trips in the coming Christmas festive season. Dubbed Talii na Uchumi, the campaign aims at pepping up tourism industry currently battered by global economic crisis.
Wapi makofi. I'm telling you, the Talii na Uchumi promotion has officially now been launched. Wapi makofi is officially launched. Now it's your time to come. And
now time for market numbers on the Financial Markets Review, coming up next.
Financial Report is brought to you by SMEP.
SMEP, a subsidiary of NCCK, is inviting you to share in its success and growth. Share price is an amazing 11 shillings.